Hello and welcome. Thank you everyone for attending today our webinar on Procure to Pay. So just before we start the webinar, just a few housekeeping rules. All attendees will be on mute and will remain for the whole webinar. Please use the question box to ask any questions related to the topic, and all questions will be answered after the demo. If we run out of time or if your question requires a longer answer, then the question will be answered offline directly. Please use the chat box for questions related to the webinar, such as if you can't hear the audio or if the presenter is going too fast. But please note that a link to view the webinar recording will be sent to all the attendees after the demo. So this is our monthly webinar on key areas of NAB and Business Central. You can sign up for as many as you like on our website. I'll show you the list of upcoming webinars at the end of the session. We also send out regular emails to register for the next one. My name is Tiziana, also known as Deets. I'll be facilitating the demo today. I'm an account manager here at T-Vision, and I've worked at T-Vision for 3 years. And my background is 18 years of IT sales, marketing, and partner management. Ian will be doing the demo today, and he is a senior support consultant at T-Vision. Ian has been working at T-Vision for 5 years and has been using NAB since 2000. So in this webinar, we will take an in-depth look at the Procure to Pay process in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. We will advise you on how you can use the system to help you streamline your procurement process and reduce the errors often caused by manual matching. She'll also provide practical tips on how to use the Procure to Pay process more effectively. One of these being the popular auto-suggest feature for payments. With Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, the Procure to Pay process has never been easier. By using it, you will have a single integrated system where the same document can be followed through the entire process and accessed by everyone involved. So, these are the top 5 things we're going to show you today about Procure to Pay. The complete solution. So, Business Central is a complete ERP system and it includes all the elements in your Procure to Pay processes. We're going to talk about the planning worksheet, also known as MRP, Material Requirement Planning, purchase quotes, purchase orders, purchase receipts, purchase invoices, payment journals, and much more. Flexibility. So we will show you how flexible the setup can be. You can pick and choose the elements of the process that you need, and you can turn the feature on and off. Your Business Central processes can match the real-world procedures. For example, you can choose whether to start with a purchase order or just capture an invoice. Integration. So Business Central is fully integrated. So while you're doing your purchasing, you're also controlling your stock, bank ledgers and creditors ledgers. Ian will be running through an example of the process and you will see inventory update and a vendor balance changing. Reducing errors. You will see that you can have a single document and you can follow through the entire process and take away the need for a manual matching permanently. Every other person involved in the process will be looking at the same document. Efficiency. So you have the complete solution that's integrated. It has removed your errors and you won't need to worry about manual matching and reconciliation. And now you can use the auto-suggest payment function and trust that it will be correct. So before the demo, we'd like to do a quick poll. And the question is, do you think you're making use of the full capabilities of this process? I'm just going to launch the poll. Okay, so if we can just give you a few seconds. So A, yes, we use everything and it works. B, we're using some of it, but would be nice to use more. C, I didn't even realise it could handle the whole process. Or D, we handle our procurement outside Business Central. See some answers coming through. Excellent. Well, thanks for that. So, okay, so interesting, most of you selected option B and C. Okay, so just close the poll. Okay, so now I'll hand over to Ian for the demo, who's going to show and tell you more about the process Please feel free to ask any questions during the webinar. We'll answer as many as we can after the demo. Over to you, Ian.
Thanks, Deets. Hi guys, what I'm going to be going through today, I'm using Business Central, the latest version. I've not added any extensions or anything, so this is out of the box. A lot of us, we're using Business Central, but we're not using all the capabilities that are there. And when Deets asked me if we can do a procure to pay webinar, I said, oh, fantastic, because there's loads of stuff in there. And I sent her away to do some research and see what do other people talk about. And I was actually shocked that other systems and other partners, they talk about capturing invoices, paying vendors, and that's all they mention. When the procure to pay is so rich inside Business Central and in NAV, that it handles everything from planning your purchasing all the way through. I was actually quite shocked. So I'm going to spend a bit of time on the stuff that other people don't speak about, and a bit less time on the stuff that you're more familiar with. If I go too fast, please give Deets a shout and she'll tell me to slow down. Right, so I've got this standard system here, and you can imagine your sales team. I've got this company, I buy and sell furniture. My sales team, they're capturing orders, and I need to know that I'm going to have enough stock on hand to meet all these orders that my sales team are capturing. I'm sure that's something that you can, relate to with your business. So let's just have a look at some of my items. I'm going to choose one item in particular that I've prepared an example for, obviously. So looking at my Athens desk, I can see I've got 4 pieces in stock. But if I drill down on it, I can go and look at my inventory and my history, etc. But much more interesting, if you come down a little bit, you might notice you've got this replenishment tab. But quite often people ignore this because you're not using everything in the system. But I fill this in and I say, this item is something that I purchase if I need to replenish my stock. And it has a lead time of 2 days. So I place an order, it takes 2 days for the stock to arrive. And I usually buy it from vendor number 30,000. I can put in some more information there if it's something I produce, but we're worried about purchasing today. And a little further down, there's planning. How do I want to do my planning for this item? I'm choosing a maximum quantity option. There is a fixed reorder quantity option, an order or a lot by lot options. Maximum quantity is the one that's going to work for me. I'm going to give myself a safety lead time of 1 week. So that's going to add to that 2 days you saw just now. And I'm going to say, when the stock gets below 10, I want to reorder. I want to try and get my maximum inventory up to 40 pieces. I have to order at least 4 pieces. It's in multiples of 4 because that's how many are on a pallet. And the maximum order anybody should be placing is 40. So a little bit later, all of this information is going to be used by my purchasing system to help me make some decisions. So we can see I've got this item here. I could have looked at my items availability by period, and I would see that at some point in the future, I'm going to go into negative inventory for this because I've got quite a few orders stacked up for next month and the month after. I'm going to have to order some. Now I could, item by item, go down this list and say, oh, show me what's my inventory look like going forwards. But that's going to be a bit of a mission if I've got thousands of items. So of course, there's an inbuilt tool that helps me with this. So I'm going to search for planning. And there are quite a few options here for planning. Now you will notice order planning and planning worksheets come out at the top of my list. Now this is something you only really use with manufacturing and advanced warehousing for these 2 options. You need a premium license, which is the most expensive Business Central license to get to these 2 options. But you also get requisition worksheets. This is standard for everybody. So you do have this on your system, on Business Central, and within NAV. It's also available there if you're still using NAV. Requisition worksheets, they're identical to planning worksheets. It's just that planning worksheets will plan production and warehouse movements. Requisition worksheets just plans your purchasing side of things. So I'm going to click on that, and it gives me this planning worksheet. One of the options up here is to calculate a purchasing plan. So I'm going to ask it to calculate a plan just for the remainder of this year. I can include a forecast if I want to. I didn't set one up. I'm going to ask it to respect those parameters that I set up on the item master. I'm not going to put in any filters. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to let my system go away and come up with a plan. So for this item, the Athens desk, it needs me to place 2 orders. It wants me to order 36 units right now. Now you remember I've got 4 in stock. 36 will take me up to the 40 that I want to keep my maximum inventory. And it's also saying that at some point in the future, by the 1st of the 9th, my stock will have dropped enough that I need to order another 40 units to get my stock back up to where it should be. So it's looked at the demand that's already on my system, and it's suggesting these are the things that you should be ordering in. So this is quite a powerful tool. You can imagine if you have hundreds of items, hundreds of customers, you get a really long list. To do manually would take you an entire day. Business Central can do this for you in minutes, and it gives you these suggestions. You can choose to accept these suggestions, or you can turn off the ticks if you don't like them. You can tweak them if you want and say, no, rather order 40 or something. You can edit these numbers. I'm just going to accept these numbers. I'm going to say process. I'm going to carry out the messages. And I don't want to print any orders. I just wanted to create them. And it's created purchase orders for me based on what was on the planning worksheet. So if I go and look at my purchase orders, I should have at the bottom of the list, yep, for supplier number 3000, I've got an order there. Remember, he was my preferred supplier for the Athens desk. 1 order with 2 lines for 36 pieces and 40 pieces with different requested delivery dates based on the parameters that I put in. And there you can see the difference between the planned and the expected. That's that safety lead time that I spoke about. It wants to take cognizance of that as well. So it can prepare the purchase order for me without me having to do this manually and figure it out myself. I'm sure for most of you, you've used the system. This is where you start. You come into purchase orders and you start capturing purchase orders. You don't have to start here. You can start one step back from this. You can let the system suggest the purchase orders for you and create them for you. You could, if you really wanted to, get there a different way as well. You can go through purchase quotes. And let's just have a look at purchase quotes. So I've put a couple on the system just so you can see what they are. So my boss has said, Ian, we need some chairs. Please get some quotes. I'll choose the best one. So I went out and I got 3 quotes for chairs. So the first quote was from Fabricam. For 10 chairs, they'll give me a 2.5% discount. That's how much it is. For the next one was also from Fabricam, but they've got a bit of a special deal going. And they gave me a quote, if I buy 15 chairs, they'll give me a 3.5% discount. That's how much it is. And the other supplier, he offered me a strange deal. The 10 chairs at a really good price, but only if I buy 8 of these other chairs for £25. Now, I can give these to my boss. I can let him look at them and he can choose which one he wants to go with. Or I could send them all 3 for approval. He could approve one of them and reject 2 of them. And when the one that's the best option is chosen, let's say it's the first one, it's either been approved or my boss says, yep, this one, Ian, go for it. I can say, process, turn this into an order. And the system will convert it from a quote into a purchase order. Do I want to open that purchase order? Yes, I do. And there is the purchase order waiting for any other bits of information, delivery dates, locations, etc. That's another way of getting purchase orders onto my system. I could also have some integration with a CAD package that sends through orders, or a website that sends through purchase orders. So there's lots of ways of getting purchase orders onto your system. Once you've got purchase orders onto your system, what happens next? So let's go and have a look at one of these purchase orders. So once we've got a purchase order on the system, everybody who's using Business Central on Av, they would come to this exact same place and they would work from exactly the same document. So whether I'm the buyer who wants to see what's still outstanding, if I'm the guy in the receiving store who needs to receipt the goods, whether I'm in finance and I need to invoice the goods, this is where I come. We all look at the same document. So let's look at this one for the tables, for argument's sake. If I want to receipt these goods, I can say I want to receipt how many. I don't want to receipt those ones. I only want to receipt the ones up top. And I can choose, do I want to invoice them at the same time, or do I want to leave the invoicing until later? Maybe someone else is responsible for that. I'm sure you know how this works. I post this document. It creates a purchase receipt. It creates a purchase invoice. And then that's the document that's ready for my accounts payable team to pay to the vendor. If I only receive and somebody else does the invoicing, they would come here, they would type in their number, they'd be looking at the same thing on Business Central. We don't have to go to 3 different places. Everybody's working from the same source document. Once documents are posted, you can go to a posted document, you can go back, you can see how it's affected your stock, you can go and see how it's affected your general ledger, how it's affected your VAT, how it's affected your vendors' balances. It's all integrated, it all works together, everybody's talking the same thing. It just makes life really convenient and really easy. And it's more than just capturing an invoice because somebody sent me an invoice. I can now capture an invoice based on a receipt that was based on an order that was based on either a quote or on a purchasing plan. And at any step during that process, or at every step during that process, depending what I choose, we can turn on approvals and say, oh, somebody needs to approve it before it moves on to the next step. Or, depending on how your business is set up, maybe you don't need approvals. You can just let them move to the next step based on the people working and doing their jobs properly. Once you have captured all of this, you've still got vendors to pay because this is a procure to pay process. So how do you pay your vendors? Now, I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but I'll just show it in case. So you would go to a payment journal, and you can have multiple payment journals set up on your system. I've got one specifically for Ian, and you can see I was testing earlier on. Let me just delete everything that's in here. So I've got a blank document. I can manually type this out and say, these are the vendors that I want to pay. But again, because I've captured everything within Business Central, I don't need to. I have the ability to go to my Prepare, suggest vendor payments. The system is going to look through all of my vendors based on those purchase invoices that were posted. It's going to look at the due dates of those documents, and it's going to suggest these are the vendors I think you should pay. So I've put in the parameters for when I want to run this. I just want to get a grand total for each vendor. I don't want to get a separate line for every invoice. I give it a document number. I can filter if I wish. I'm just going to take everything and say, yep. So it's suggesting that I should pay these 5 vendors this amount of money. Again, I can choose to delete one of these lines if I don't want to pay not publishers for some reason. I can delete this line. I don't have to pay them. And I can round some of these numbers off. Maybe I pay £450 here instead of having the odd number because I just like my bank account to look neat, maybe. And I'm you know, running on the off chance that they give me the £2.93 as a bit of a discount. Maybe I'm being a little bit sly if I think that way. But I'm not forced to take these numbers. Once I'm happy with this, I can post it. It's updated my bank account. It's updated my vendors' balances. My inventory's been updated every step of the way. And the following week, the following month, the following quarter, whenever it is, my planning team, my purchasing team, they can come onto the system and they can go back to their purchase requisition worksheet to see what next is the system suggesting that I buy. So I went through a lot there, but you don't have to use all of that. You're probably not using everything at the moment. You're probably just capturing purchase orders, maybe purchase invoices, and doing the payment journals. You can pick and choose which elements you want to use. You can pick and choose how much detail you want to go into. You can pick and choose whether to put on approvals or not. So it's a very flexible system, but it just makes your life so much easier that everything's in one place, everything's linked to everything else, everything's updated at once, and you can trust that everything is accurate. So that's what I wanted to speak about today, that entire system from planning your procurement all the way through to paying your vendors in one place, and it all just works together. Now then, Dietz, did any questions come in?
Brilliant. Not yet. So if anybody has any questions, if you can submit them now, just in the question box, that'd be great. We'll just give you a few seconds. So I was just wondering, actually, while we're waiting for some questions, Ian, you didn't talk about reporting. Does it help your reporting or make it more accurate?
All right, yeah. Of course it does, Dietz. So because you've got everything on one system, all your reporting is coming from one system. So if you're doing an account schedule on your GL, maybe you're doing a JET report, a Power BI report, maybe you've got some custom-made reports using a SQL Server or something. It's one source of information that everybody's using, so everybody's getting exactly the same number. The planning guys, the finance guys, the sales guys, they've all got the same details on their reports. And if you're using dimensions against your items, against your vendors, you've got that element of accuracy as well, that you can split up your reports. It makes life really easy, especially for reporting.
Brilliant, thank you. Do you have a question that's come in? We're a services company and we don't really buy and sell goods. Can I use this for my office purchases?
All right, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so obviously you can still buy your stationery, your office supplies, paper for the printer, etc. Instead of buying an item, you'd be buying against a GL account. You can do that. Obviously, the planning worksheets don't work for that. That's based on the goods that you buy and sell as your normal trading stock. But you can still use the purchase quotes, purchase orders, purchase invoices, purchase returns, purchase credit memos, and the payment journals with the suggest vendor payments, all for those normal office supplies. And there's nothing that stops you. I have seen one client putting their stationery as inventory, as items, that they can issue them and buy them using them as items with zero value rather than using them as GL purchases. It's something worth thinking about. A bit of work to set up, and it may be an expense that's not worth doing, but it's just, you know, something that is possible with the system.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Ian. If you guys have any other questions you can think of, please do feel free to message us later and we'll get back to you. So we'd like to leave you with some key takeaways, which hopefully will help you. The business central processes. So now that you know how it handles the entire processes, which steps in the process fit in with your business model and your needs, and how would you like to implement them, and how would you want them to work for you? Your real world processes. Do you really need your existing processes? Perhaps they exist because of an old accounting system, and maybe you can streamline and use Business Central's built-in functionality. Approvals process. So Ian only touched on this briefly, but you can also integrate your procurement and payment processes with Business Central with built-in approval processes and workflows for improved control. When setting up your systems, it's important to decide how and where the approvals should be applied. To the full Monty. While I was researching about this topic, Ian pointed out that almost every other solution just talks about invoicing and payments. Business Central is a full ERP solution, and you can manage every step of the process from ordering and receiving through to the final payment. So the final four is, please do remember this is all included in your current solution, and you don't have to pay any extra for this functionality. You can see any efficiencies or improvements that you could get by embracing this full functionality. If you would like help to implement any of these processes, then please do get in touch. So we hope you found this webinar interesting and informative. We shall be sending out the email soon to register for the next one, and we'll also put a reminder about the webinar in our newsletter. Thanks again for attending the webinar. Once I close the session, a survey will appear. I'd be very grateful if you could respond with some feedback. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to email them to me at marketing@tvisiontech.co.uk. Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.